Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. If you're like me, there's a good chance if you're watching this video, we share at least some similarities. You expect some level of perfection, not only from yourself, but from other people. And expecting perfection where perfection isn't possible is usually a recipe for some kind of grief, some kind of discomfort, if not some level of disaster. I started thinking about this not only because of something that happened to me yesterday, but because of the final passage that I read from Going to Pieces Without Falling Apart by Mark Epstein. And in this passage, he's describing a situation where he's leaving a 10-day meditation retreat, and he gets into his car. He's excited about leaving, and feeling very at peace and in control of the situation. And then he realizes he needs to get out of the car to scrape some ice off his windshield. So he does that, and as soon as he closes the door, he realizes that he's locked himself out of the car. And he talks about feeling immediate kind of grief toward himself for this level of he felt a little cocky, felt a little bit more in control of the situation than he should have. And then he backs off of that a little bit, and he describes the feeling like this. He says, "I did not need to be infallible to get home, I realized, nor did I always have to be in control. The retreat had changed something in my mind, retaining a sense of expansiveness toward things instead of usual contraction. I felt a spirit of generosity toward myself. Things did not have to be perfect for me to be okay, it seemed." And that's the message that I think is important for all of us to realize, is that things don't have to be perfect for us to be okay, and we don't have to be perfect for us to be okay. A lot of times, I would use my imperfections as a reason to beat myself up, an excuse to make myself feel bad about myself, whatever was going on around me, but then take that as reason to go and drink and use drugs. And it was a very convenient way to do things, because when you're feeling bad about yourself and when you're feeling like you're worth less than those around you, when you're feeling like you don't deserve certain things in life, then it's very easy to just go back to drinking, go back to drug use, and to use getting drunk or getting high as a way to escape from those feelings. It creates a very convenient feedback loop for yourself. And what I found in recovery is that it's incredibly important for me to be generous with myself, to be loving to myself and not beat myself up over things. Had a situation yesterday where I responded to my son about something. He's 6 years old, and I responded to him about something in a way that I feel like it might have hurt his feelings. And we talked about it some, and everything was okay at the end of it. But I still continued throughout the day to rehash the situation in my head and to think, well, should I have done something different? Maybe what I said was what he needed to hear, and I'm just feeling bad because he felt bad, and I just kept going over it and over it and over it, and found myself really beating myself up for not knowing exactly how to handle the situation. And I kept there was a little voice in my head that kept trying to say, you're not perfect. You're not going to get all of this stuff right. The fact that you're even thinking about it this much is probably a sign that you're on the right track at some level. And, I finally talked to my wife about it at the end of the day, and she said, well, yeah, I probably would have done the exact same thing you did. So it's we get to these points where we're expecting perfection from ourselves, and when we don't see it, we feel like we deserve to get some kind of punishment almost for not being perfect. At least that's the way I felt all my life. When I am not perfect, I feel like I deserve some kind of punishment for it. And alcohol and drugs were a convenient way for me to run from that punishment. We don't have to do that. What recovery teaches us is what Epstein said in the passage today, that we don't have to be perfect to be okay. Things did not have to be perfect for me to be okay, it seemed. And the last paragraph that he writes here, he says, with some gratitude, I realized that my awareness was now stronger than my neurosis. This did not mean things would never go to pieces, only that I did not have to fall apart when they did. In fact, my own ability to go to pieces was protecting me in this situation. I did not have to let my identity as an efficient and together person imprison me. Rolling through the Massachusetts countryside in the midst of the early morning snowstorm, I felt the freedom that comes from accepting what is. Going down that road, I did not feel half bad. And I really like what he says. I did not have to let my identity as an efficient and together person imprison me. And that's what we do to ourselves. We define ourselves as perfect people, perfect parents, perfect workers, total, visions of efficiency, productivity. We're great friends. We're great lovers. We're all these great things. And then as soon as we come up short in one of those areas, we beat the crap out of ourselves. And we get ourselves to a point where we feel so bad that it becomes very tempting to run to something like drugs and alcohol as an escape from those feelings. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could just accept that we're not perfect? We're not these ideal things that we can conceive of, but we are what we are. And if we can embrace that and figure out how to be satisfied with being okay and just being okay and doing the right things in life as best as we can, then we can move forward and find some peace that allows us to live in recovery rather than in addiction. That's what I got out of today's reading. It's really important to me because I found myself in a situation yesterday where I was expecting a level of perfection from myself and from others, from my son too. My reaction to my son was because I was expecting some level of perfection from him that isn't appropriate. And I've got to back off of that. And I've got to accept things for what they are. And that's where I'm going to find the kind of peace and comfort that has become such an important thing for me in recovery, and the thing that keeps me in recovery rather than going back to drugs and alcohol for the false sense of comfort that they offer. That's it for today. I'll be back here tomorrow with more. Have a good one.